This week on MS Refresh, Microsoft Ignite. Redmond's biggest event of the year is back in person, but something was missing. It was us. But we're not. We still got the goods. Teams Premium, Power Pages, AI-powered everything, and finally some updates on that Loop app. All that and more. Subscribe to stay in the know. This is the MS Refresh Show. Hi there, and welcome to the Matt and Sean 365 Refresh Show. This is episode 72 for the work week of October 10th, 2022, and our special coverage of Microsoft Ignite 2022, coming to you from the East Coast. My name is Matt Wade.
As always, from the West Coast, I'm Sean Bugler.
Mr. Bugler, what's going on, man?
I'm tired, man. We weren't even there. I'm exhausted.
I remember how exhausted I've been in the past at Ignites when I was there, and I feel like I'm almost at that point now. Maybe I'm just getting older. I don't know.
That might be it. You know, I think it's funny how it works. I feel like I have a better grasp on, I hope my bosses aren't watching this. I have a better grasp on what the announcements are, how they're immediately applicable to my organization, sitting from my desk than I do bouncing from session to session to session. Obviously, the conference is more than the sum of its parts. You know, it's the people, it's the bacon, it's the it's all of that. It's the after parties, the pre-parties. That said, some part of me wishes I was there. Like, you kind of saw in the background, you know, as they were doing some of the live keynote sessions and otherwise. I don't know, kind of wish I had gone. What about you?
Yeah, I do too.
But I mean, obviously both of us kind of like kicked it around, but it just wasn't in the cards.
It's also not the Ignite of yesteryear. And if there's 1 year to miss, it's probably this year, because they're going to be stretching their legs on how do we do in person again, but also make it available online. So I've been following on Twitter, and it's been interesting to see kind of what do the rooms look like and what kind of support do they have and how big are these sessions going to be. But we can try and weasel our way in next year sometime.
Oh yeah, bet on it. And for anybody who's thinking about, do I go to Ignite? You should absolutely go. If you can get work to pay for it, 100% should. It's a great experience. There's a ton of value. What did you think about the intersection between hybrid and in-person? Do you feel like they skewed better in any one direction in terms of like production value and where the quality, like meaningful content was?
So I think clearly for the big announcements and the pre-recorded stuff and all that is very outward facing and not so much for the in-person. And I feel it's probably awkward to watch in a session room these pre-recorded sessions. So I think they're still kind of juggling exactly how to make this right in the future and how they deal with pushing this as a hybrid, because before the pandemic it was an in-person event. That's what it was.
Oh yeah.
It's not like these sessions were online or available for those people that weren't lucky enough to spend the, what was it, $3,000 or $4,000 a person?
Oh yeah, ground floor, like 3,600.
Yeah, it was some sort of crazy amount of money, and you were paying for that access in theory. But you got a backpack, and you got like a night at Universal Studios, which is pretty good. That's pretty slick.
Don't give away the best part.
Well, I mean, I don't know what they closed down in Seattle. I don't know. Maybe the original Starbucks is closed just for them to go in and drink their heart's content of coffee, perhaps. Guess we'll see.
That's what it is.
But the format
today
is going to be... Yeah, there's a ton of announcements. The format today is going to be a little bit different, which is we're going to just jump into each of the topics that we plan on covering today. We're not going to cover everything. It is a ton of stuff that's being pushed out there, absolutely. But the things that seemed interesting to us and impactful for people, regular, everyday, use Microsoft 365 and other tools within the Microsoft Cloud. And I think we'll get started.
This is the news.
As usual these days, Microsoft Teams took center stage. So let's get started with some updates to meetings in Microsoft Teams. First off, PEG people have been upgraded to Microsoft's version of the Apple Memoji with mesh avatars for Teams. Now you can represent yourself in a meeting with more than just a photo, but less than a video feed. I'm still not convinced this will ever catch on, and will probably live in infamy as a cute thing that your least favorite coworker plays with once in staff meeting and never again, but I guess we will see. Also, Together Mode now lets you assign seats and push Together Mode out to the entire meeting to all your participants. So it's not just a personal preference on individual participants' parts. Let's jump into collaboration. Teams channels are getting a redesign to allow different post types like Q&A, and we'll have channel headers similar to social media pages. It'll also flip the script and place new posts at the top of the channel as opposed to the bottom, which will be jarring for a lot of people most likely. These are expected in private preview by the end of the year. You can also add someone to a private chat by simply @mentioning them, available by the end of the year, and send a notification to everyone in a chat by @mentioning the word everyone in private preview by the end of the year. These are two small but kind of slick improvements. And by the end of the year, you will be able to delete a chat, not just hide it. And it will not be deleted on the other people's side. Probably the most notable thing that popped up today was Teams Premium. So are you looking for another licensing SKU to understand in the Microsoft 365 ecosystem? Well, we've got you covered with Microsoft Teams Premium, a new, you guessed it, premium option for Teams that can provide some specific features you'll pay extra for. So let's cover a few of those. First, meeting guides will provide a standard meeting setup for specific meeting types you might have, like a client call, IT support meeting, and basically any way that you want to sort of templatize a meeting setup with the options in your meeting options and some other feature sets built in. Next, you can brand your meeting join experience with color schemes and background images for a custom experience, something that's been talked about actually for a while, but then somehow slipped its way into a paid service. Advanced meeting protection will let you apply sensitivity labels to your meetings, control who can record the meeting, add watermarks, and support end-to-end encryption. Advanced webinars will give you live events-like control over what your attendees see, let you streamline the registration process and more. And what will come with a groan for anyone who isn't a monolingual English speaker, live caption translations for 40 languages, which has been discussed in the past, are getting locked behind the Teams Premium paywall. The Teams Premium public preview rolls out in December and is expected to be generally available in February 2023. It'll cost $10 per user per month, which happens to be exactly how much Cortana and Outlook costs. You decide which has more value. Anyway, check out the blog post in the show notes for more info. And to close out the Teams section, it wouldn't be Ignite without a number of re-announced items aiming to double dip on such a large audience. That includes Excel Live rolling out this month, collaborative annotations now generally available, and Cameo and PowerPoint Live also generally available as of today. More reactions, gotta compete with Slack, rolling out this month, and schedule sending a chat message available in November.
Outlook got some love at Ignite, and just in the nick of time. Microsoft is finally unleashing a ton of hybrid-focused announcements, most of which are slated to arrive before the end of this year, which, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, is not typical of an Ignite announcement. Normally, we kind of just in the back of our heads chalk that up as being, we'll see this in September next year. Best case scenario. So this is kind of nice. Everything that we're talking about here on the Outlook is currently slated to arrive before the end of this year. As to whether that will actually happen remains to be seen. Probably the most visible announcement is that users will soon be able to set their locations, whether they're working from home or in the office. And what's really cool here is we're seeing here in the video, you can actually use the scheduling assistant to see on any given day at any given time whether that person is at home or working remote. It's huge for organizations that are still trying to figure out the balance in the hybrid workplace environment. The Outlook mobile apps are also finally picking up the ability to send emails at a later date and time. And for all you Apple nerds, both the Mac and iOS apps are soon slated to support focus profiles and filters. So you can set up things like the work profile or the I'm on vacation profile and filter things out based on that, which is pretty cool. Some big integrations with Teams are also coming to Outlook, including access to Teams chat right in Outlook for the web. This is perfect for organizations that happen to have thrown all their weight behind another product like Slack, for example. Very convenient. You'll be able to start and continue private chats right in Outlook, as well as pop open the meeting chat for appointments in your Outlook calendar, and Outlook search results will include Teams chats, so you don't have to bounce around various locations to figure out where that one message is that you've been looking for, trusting that search will do what it's supposed to do. And also, in the spirit of re-announcing, also re-announced reactions, finally coming, 6 of them. We actually got a visual, so they're coming. And they are using the fluid emojis in case anybody's got strong opinions about that. Turning our attention over to Viva, there weren't really a ton of announcements that were like net new. There's a lot of double dipping. There's a lot of, yes, this is coming. Yes, this is generally available. Viva sales, blah, blah, blah. But I did want to highlight one specific thing. Viva Goals has announced that it's incorporating a number of first and third-party integrations to support things like OKRs and meeting your objectives across an organization. Really admirable stuff. And it's a thing a lot of companies are starting to focus on, whether you're Asana, or Microsoft in this particular instance. But I wanted to point out one particular third-party integration that Microsoft themselves highlighted: Slack. What? Quoting from the Book of News, quote, "With the Slack integration, users can receive notifications, reminders, and conduct OKR check-ins directly from Slack," end quote. There's also a Google Sheets integration to allow users to sync key results check-ins to Google Sheets cells for real-time monitoring of progress. And can I just say, more of this, more integrations with companies that might feel adversarial from the outside looking in. There's no reason that Microsoft and Slack and Microsoft and Google can't coexist. I'd love this idea, and I hope that we continue to see more of that. Anyways, turning our attention to the last thing that I'll be talking about before I hand it back over to Matt here, Microsoft Places. Out of left field, we got a brand new product that isn't, as far as we can tell, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not a Teams app, it's not a Viva module. Microsoft Places is coming in 2023. It's an app dedicated to the workplace, wherever that happens to be. The app is going to support some pretty interesting functionality, including a dashboard view of which days people are on the team or in your collaboration network will be in the office, a presence indicator that shows people's physical location, whether that's in the office, remote, or mobile, the ability to see workspaces that others have booked so someone can book nearby, insights and guidance on commuting and passing time, plus the ability to automatically schedule travel time, something I think a lot of us are interested in that are working in a hybrid capacity. Interestingly, they're also incorporating wayfinding and navigation to help move within the office. They're also incorporating a modernized conference room booking system and management stuff like space usage and insights, and I assume whether you turned the lights off when you left. No word on whether this is going to be made available as part of the core Microsoft 365 licensing model, but they're framing this as a brand new product in a way that they didn't with a number of other brand new products. And given the recent trend of bolt-on licensing models, regardless of whether you've shelled out for E5, that's not super heartening.
And on to Microsoft Loop. The Loop app, it lives sort of in private preview, which we kind of already knew. For those not aware, Loop is the heart of Microsoft's modern collaborative vision, powered by Loop components that stay in sync with each other in real time, no matter where they're shared. Today, a limited selection of Loop components are available in Outlook and Teams chats. Here at Ignite, Microsoft announced they'll soon come to Microsoft Word and Whiteboard, though undoubtedly other apps will follow in time. They also announced a new Q&A Loop component for collecting questions and answers, and revealed that the poll Q&A Loop component will be powered by Microsoft Forums, which is neat. They brought integration with adaptive cards, which basically lets you make custom Loop components using what is likely a familiar interface. And according to Microsoft, the Loop app will feature workspaces, pages, components that sync across Microsoft 365. No word on how workspaces will all tie into the current paradigm of Teams, Microsoft 365 groups, and all of that jazz, though I imagine that's a big part of what this private preview will be working to suss out. There's also still no hard launch date, which means 2022 is virtually guaranteed to be out the window. My money is on somewhere in Q2 of next year, though I'd love to be wrong and it be available earlier. Sign up for the private preview now at loop.microsoft.com. And I'll also be speaking about Loop at the Microsoft 365 conference in Las Vegas in December. Save $50 in registration by using the link in the show notes.
Just had to squeeze that in, didn't you?
Ah, that is exactly what I do.
And lastly, to bring us on home, there was a ton of stuff that Microsoft talked at Ignite, and not all of it made it into this video. But we wanted to bring things home with everything that they were talking about at Power Platform that we thought was notable for the everyday user. One of the first things that we wanted to highlight is Power Pages. So this is one of the newest platforms of the Microsoft Power Platform, has now hit general availability. Now, for those of you that don't know, Power Pages is a low-code web development platform. So much in the same way that the app development platform Power Apps exists, Power Pages is designed to serve the web experience of that. So there's an improved design studio that we see here up on the screen here that's going to help improve and smooth out the experience for those of you that have interacted with the previous iteration of that, Power Apps portals. It's a much improved experience. They're also introducing a template hub with 16 pre-designed templates to help give you a sense not just of what is available out of the gate, but what's possible. A lot of that art of the possible they talk about in the Microsoft universe. And a learning hub to help new users get up to speed. So again, if you've never used Power Apps portals or Power Pages, they're going to have some really great tutorials to help get you familiar with what's possible in this. It's really, really useful. And I encourage everybody that's interested in what Power Pages is to get started with it there. There's also some security and governance enhancements and an improved billing model, much asked for, that transitions away from daily sign-ins and page views to monthly authenticated and anonymous users, which I might add is very Salesforce-y modeling schema. So it gives you a sense of who they think they're competing with here. Turning our attention to Power Automate, one of the biggest announcements that I think happened within the Power Platform is this idea of what they're calling natural language to flow. The idea behind it here is that you can actually, and you can see it on the screen here, you can describe what you want a flow to do. And they're really keen on this, using everyday words. So don't come at this like a Google search. But the idea behind it, and this is powered by Microsoft's partnership with OpenAI, an advanced iteration of GPT-3 called Codex, that will take that natural language and create suggested flows of triggers and actions. Really, really cool stuff. We're excited to see that there. And we also have what they're calling format by example. And again, the idea behind this one is similar to Power Apps ideas, is to describe, to provide an example of what it is that you're looking for as an output when you're trying to design an expression, and that Power Automate will provide that expression for you. Really cool, really exciting. And we're seeing a lot more of that. And I would be shocked if we don't continue to see an evolution of that at GitHub's upcoming event, which I think is next month. Turning our attention to Power Apps. A couple of months ago, Microsoft announced some slight collaborative aspects to the Power Platform here, but we see the dam fully break here. Where previously we only saw the ability to comment in Power Apps, we now see real-time co-authoring and collaboration. So as opposed to having to wait until or ask somebody very nicely to get out of the Canvas studio so that you can get to work, you can now work together. You can see what pages people are on. You can interact with them. And as we're seeing here as well, Power Virtual Agents is also now incorporated into the Power Apps Design Studio. Really interesting opportunities here for organizations that are trying to really stretch their legs across the Power Platform there. Now, of course, there are a number of things that we saw hints of throughout the year that have now either hit general availability or now starting to show up in environments. For example, the ability to create cards in Power Apps experiences. So you can think of these as kind of micro apps in the same way that components were kind of micro aspects of Power Apps. These little cards, which as far as I can tell, are currently only available to be used in Power Apps contexts, or I'm sorry, Teams contexts. Really interesting opportunities to create, again, micro experiences using the Power Apps canvas, using all that low code knowledge that you've got ticking around back there. There are also a couple of other double dip features that we're now seeing again hit general availability or hitting the production environment, including Sketch to App, which is really interesting for those of you that are not aware. The ability to take a piece of paper, draw what you would like the app to look like, and take a picture of it, and then upload that picture into Power Apps. And Power Apps will then do its best to figure out exactly how to recreate what you've drawn into a working Power App. Now, what's really great about that is that this is not just the ability to create the visual aspect of the app. It also will create the app backend, which is huge for users that aren't necessarily familiar with Dataverse, that might be just getting started. And so it'll start to help create good habits and familiarity in that universe. In addition to Sketch to App, we're also now seeing in production Figma to App. Now, for those of you that don't know, Figma is a design tool that Adobe just spent $20 billion on. And this is a fresh reminder of why Adobe was so keen to spend $20 billion on Figma. Power Apps will allow users to import Figma sketches and intelligently transform them into apps. Now, for those of you that have never had the pleasure of seeing designers and engineers or developers working in the same space at the same time, it can get painful. And so this is a really great way to bridge the divide between the two. Now, of course, the backend data connections will still need to be established, but it's a huge leap from the current workflows that we see today, allowing you to have pixel perfect apps from the get-go and allowing developers to do what they do best behind the scenes. And lastly, to bring us on home, across all of the Power Platform, we've got managed environments, which will allow admins to assert control over environments in the Power Platform. This will allow you to limit sharing, allow you to dictate organizations or groups within that you can have access to it, and to apply security and governance in ways that simply weren't available up to now or were available in kind of the deep plumbing PowerShell backend. So all told, really exciting on both the front and the back of the Power Platform. And that's what we have for Ignite. Now, don't get us wrong. We didn't cover everything. The new Microsoft Stream went GA. Syntax upgraded from being just a SharePoint feature to being a full-blown Microsoft app. The Office app is now the Microsoft 365 app. And Microsoft partnered with Facebook or Meta or whatever you're calling it now in what we assume will be the origin story for a metaverse villain. The fire hose continues, and hopefully this breaks it up for you.
Yeah, and on that note, thanks so much for watching. As always, a like and subscribe is much appreciated. Leave a comment below to start the discussion, and let us know what you're most excited about from the announcements at Ignite this year. Sean, thanks so much for joining me this week, and I can't wait to hang out with you and everybody else again next week. Take care.
Smash that like and subscribe button. The new Microsoft Stream app went. Not an app, just is now. What is it? It's not even an app. It's an experience.
I mean, it's an app. Yeah, I guess it's a service, but it also has a portal. I don't know what you call it.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
Ready?
How's my cardigan look? Do I look like a therapist?
Great.
Thank you.